Arsenal fall short at Manchester City. It's another away defeat at the hands of one of the big six. But have Arsenal improved in this type of fixture? We're going to be discussing that, and we're going to be looking at the game in depth on this edition of the Chronicles of a Gooner. Hello and welcome back to another live edition of the Chronicles of a Gooner, the Arsenal podcast brought to you by Manscaped.com. As ever, I'm your host, Harry Symeou, coming to you guys live a little bit earlier than advertised. And that is because, to be quite honest, it's been a really busy weekend of work. I've had a really busy day today as well, and I'm tired. And had I sat on the couch for another half an hour or so, just wasting time until the 9 p.m. sort of slot, I probably would have fallen asleep, if I'm being honest. So I wanted to get this out to you guys tonight for those of you watching us live, and so that it was available on all the audio platforms for those of you who prefer to listen that way first thing in the morning. So when you're on your way to work, or if you're working from home, first thing in the morning, whenever is convenient for you. So we're going to look back at Arsenal's defeat at the hands of Manchester City. It was just the solitary goal that split the two sides, and that was from Raheem Sterling in the first half. It was a game that we brought you live on the VSIN EPL betcast. Myself and Nigel Seeley, really tough commentating on your own team because you try as best as you can, to, I guess, remain professional, hide your emotions, but you can't help it. It does filter through a little bit. We made no secret of it on the broadcast that I am an Arsenal fan. And I think I was probably the only one that kind of held a little bit of hope as the game went on, that Arsenal were going to find a way back into it. Arsenal were going to equalise. But unfortunately, it simply wasn't to be. We're going to look through the team that Mikel Arteta picked. We're going to be discussing that a little bit. We're going to be discussing some of the big incidents from the game. And then talking about whether or not Arsenal have actually progressed. I'm not going to say have actually. That's the wrong way. Scrap that. Because we've definitely progressed under Mikel Arteta. But are we still a long way from getting it right in terms of winning this type of fixture? Are we still a long way from going away to one of the big six and winning? I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's 29 games away from home against the big six that we've not won consecutively. That's embarrassing for a club of Arsenal's size, for a club of Arsenal's stature, for a club with the talent that Arsenal have at their disposal. It's just simply not good enough. Let's start off by looking at Mikel Arteta's team selection, because obviously, it's always easy to look back and criticise in hindsight, and there's been a lot of criticism of the Arsenal boss following yesterday's game. So let's just have a quick look at how the two teams lined up, and then we'll discuss that a little bit. Of course, it was Bernd Leno in goal for Arsenal. It was a back four, well, at least it looked like a back four on paper, of Hector Bellerin, Kieran Tierney, Gabriel and David Luiz. Of course, David Luiz drafted in at the last minute. Rob Holding was actually selected initially to start alongside Gabriel, but Rob Holding felt a little bit of a tightness in his hamstring prior to the game, and that was a lastminute.com change from Arsenal. In the midfield, again, on paper, it was a three. I'm not really sure that was the case, though. It was Xhaka, Ceballos and Bukayo Saka. No place in the starting 11 for Thomas Partey. I know lots of us were keen to see him. Lots of us wanted to see him from the start, but we've got to understand that Thomas Partey only joined in with training on Thursday. It would have been a very quick turnaround. What he would have had Thursday session, Friday session, and that would have been it. So it would have been a very quick turnaround. I said it on the preview show, didn't I? That as much as I'd have loved Thomas Partey to start, and I picked him in my side when I was giving you guys the side that I would go with, it always was unlikely that Thomas Partey was going to play from the beginning. Up top, Mikel Arteta went with Willian, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and Nicolas Pepe. But interestingly, think in the build-up to this game, all of us looking at that thought, great, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang returns to the middle. He's going to spearhead Arsenal's attack. But again, that wasn't the case. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was deployed from the left. Willian was kind of playing in that false nine role. And on the substitutes bench, you had Alexander Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah. I'm not really sure what the thinking was behind that. I've heard some people sort of speculate about why that might have been. Mikel Arteta spoken about Willian playing in that kind of false nine role. He said that it's a position he understands, and given the spaces that Manchester City leave, that was kind of what he, that was what he based the selection on. He felt that with the spaces Manchester City leave, this was the best way to try and cause them problems. He would have been reluctant to move Aubameyang away from that left-sided position because, quite frankly, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang's goal record from that left-hand side is incredible. It's actually better than when he's played through the middle in recent times. There are a lot of people that call for him to be returned to the middle, but he's scoring goals from the left. It works. Why would you change it necessarily? But when you do look at that team and you look at Willian and you look at Nicolas Pepe and you think neither of those guys are natural centre forwards, then you can understand why everybody, I think, when they saw that team selection, was pretty sure that Aubameyang was going to play through the middle. But that wasn't the case. And Mikel Arteta was asked about Willian playing in that position, and he said that Willian understands the role. It was obviously something they'd worked on, and it wouldn't be surprised. We wouldn't be surprised, if he ends up playing that role again. Mikel Arteta, I believe, said something along the lines of he will use him again, if and when necessary, because he understands the role. I didn't think it worked. Of course, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but I really didn't think it worked. Now, Manchester City went with a different system to what they normally go with. They went with a back three. As you can see on your screens here, was Ederson in goal, Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz and Nathan Ake were the back three. João Cancelo was the kind of wing back on the right, with Phil Foden kind of doing that job from the left-hand side. And then, of course, it was Bernardo Silva and Rodrigo in the middle. And then, of course, you had Sterling, Aguero up top. So, yeah, I mean, Manchester City clearly learnt their lesson, didn't they, from what happened in the FA Cup semi-final. Was Mikel Arteta's plan, and I mean his plan in terms of playing Willian through the middle and doing what he did and still having that kind of flexible shape where, although Bukayo Saka was one of the midfield, he was very much a left wing back at times as well. Was Mikel Arteta's plan based around Manchester City playing in the formation that they have been playing for many, many seasons and pretty much ever since Pep Guardiola come in? Possibly. But obviously, Manchester City had reacted to what happened in that last fixture. They made sure that that we weren't able to expose those same areas. They worked out a way to deal with it, and we struggled as a result. Now, look, when we're talking about have Arsenal progressed in this kind of fixture, you can't say anything other than yes, because as much as we got beaten by the one goal. I never really felt I'm not going to say at any time, but I never really felt with any sort of regularity that we were in danger of conceding another. Yes, they had a couple of opportunities, but so did we. What I mean is, it's as comfortable defensively as I've seen Arsenal at the Etihad for many, many years. We went to Liverpool not long ago. And yes, we lost 3-1 in the end, but we stayed in the game for a very long period of time. And we conceded a third when we were kind of going for broke to equalise. So, we have progressed in the sense of we're staying in these games longer. We are making these games more difficult for our opponents. We have been more stubborn, more resilient, more resolute. But we're still not picking up results in these games. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm massively concerned by the fact that we got beat at Liverpool and by the fact that we got beat at Manchester City. I think that would be somewhat jumping the gun. I think that would be an overreaction. I don't think we need that. But what I will say is there's got to be a little bit of concern about the fact that when we find ourselves in a position where a game is coming to an end and we are chasing a goal, we're behind. I I feel like Arsenal at the moment lack that ability to just to go gung ho. I think when you, I know a lot of people used to give Arsene Wenger shit about the fact that there were games where he would just throw on 3-4 attackers and just go for broke. But sometimes it worked. Sometimes we pulled back goals at key moments. Sometimes, we got what we needed. And you always felt that Arsenal could turn it on in an attacking sense. We certainly have the talent. But when you kick off a game of football and your game plan, your tempo, the way you're sort of setting up, the way you're going out to play the game is one way, it's very difficult on 70, 75 minutes to just click your fingers, flick a switch, and all of a sudden become this expansive attacking outfit and really put your rivals up against the wall and throw the kitchen sink at them. It is so tough to switch that up. And it feels like we kind of at times under Mikel Arteta, and I want to make this clear. I'm not sitting here saying I want Mikel Arteta out. Don't get me wrong. You guys will know I'm a massive fan of Mikel Arteta and the job he's done. I think everybody that listens to this or watches this will know that I am a fan of the Spaniards. But there's got to be a concern about the fact that we seem to get in this slow rhythm, slow tempo. And that's fine when you're defending, because we have become defensively a more resolute unit. But there will be times in games where you need to click out of that. You need to switch that. You need to inject something into the side that says, yeah, we need a change of momentum here. We need a shift of gear. And that doesn't happen with this Arsenal side. And that is my worry. Not playing a centre forward yesterday. Playing Willian through the middle. He's obviously identified something about Manchester City that persuaded him that was the way to go. And there are very few people in the game of football right now that know Manchester City better than Mikel Arteta. He was an integral part of their success in recent times. He was Pep Guardiola's right-hand man. But Pep Guardiola's not silly either. And Pep Guardiola recognised that Arsenal got one over him in the FA Cup semi-final. Pep Guardiola recognised that if he did exactly what he did in that, that earlier fixture, the fixture earlier this year in the Cup, he would have got done again. And Pep Guardiola did something to counteract that. And I'm not even going to say it worked necessarily, because I don't think Manchester City were any good either. I actually thought Arsenal were very, very comfortable. In the second half, Arsenal had more possession than Manchester City, but we couldn't turn that possession into something more. We still struggled to progress the ball in certain areas. We still got the ball with certain players, with the likes of Granit Xhaka, with Dani Ceballos, and they would look up, and whether it was because they couldn't pick out the pass, they couldn't see it, or whether it was because the option wasn't there, the progression in our game was lacking. The fluency was lacking. And I think that is something that needs to be addressed. We spoke a lot about a lack of creativity in recent times. And it just feels like, and I don't really want to mention he who should not be named, but it feels like at times we're missing that type of player. Even if it's not from the start. Look, I get going to Manchester City and being cautious and being defensive and trying to be pragmatic in your approach. But you need to have the ability that when you do concede a goal, that at some point in the game, and I'm not saying that we should have changed it straight away. I think in a game like that, against a team of that quality, you do need to stay in the game for as long as you possibly can. But when it gets to that last 20-minute, 15-minute mark, you want to see Arsenal change it. You want to see Arsenal shift things. You want to see, I guess, a change of emphasis in the way you're playing. And yes, he brought Lacazette on. Yes, he brought Nketiah on. But I didn't see that. And I don't know. I do worry about our kind of inability to get out of this slow rhythm, this slow tempo when it matters. Because playing that way is all well and good. But if you do concede a goal and you don't have the ability to shift it, to change it, then it's a problem. And it is a problem that we're going to face often. Because as much as we say that Mikel Arteta's side of, or that Mikel Arteta himself has improved this side defensively, when you've got Bellerin in the side, when you've got David Luiz in the side, when you've got certain people in that side, you're going to concede goals at times, So, you just want to see Arsenal kind of take the game by the scruff of the neck. And there was never a better time, I don't think, to go to Manchester City and really put them to the sword. Had we gone there and Manchester City played like the Manchester City of old and Manchester City were playing free-flowing, attacking football, you kind of sit there and you go, okay, they're just better than us. We stayed in the game for a long time. We lost 1-0. Isn't the end of the world. But when you look at a team who are obviously lacking in confidence themselves, lacking in structure themselves, playing a formation that is very foreign to them, you feel like everything was there. The scene was set for Arsenal to go and take the game by the scruff of the neck and really make a statement and get a result at Manchester City. I didn't even want all 3 points. Well, obviously I wanted 3 points, but I didn't expect 3 points. I certainly didn't expect 3 points. I expected a defeat. Had we got a point, it would have been an absolute bonus. And when you get a goal late coming from behind, that kind of feels like a win, particularly in a game like that away from home against one of the traditional Big Six. So, yeah, I can't help but feel a little bit of disappointment following that fixture. Let's have a look at the goal that Arsenal conceded as well, because I think, there's been a lot of talking points sort of around this goal. And I'm just going to show you guys the initial sort of... So you can see here on your screen, I'll explain it for those of you listening on the audio. Riyad Mahrez had the ball on the halfway line on the right-hand side for Manchester City. Now, of course, Riyad Mahrez was dealt with in the FA Cup game because Ainsley Maitland-Niles was playing at left wing back. And Riyad Mahrez, we know, left-footed player, always going to cut inside. And Ainsley Maitland-Niles made it really, really difficult for him that day. Kept forcing him to go the other way. But you can just see here in this screenshot that Arsenal have squeezed up a little bit. Kieran Tierney's there putting pressure on Riyad Mahrez. Bukayo Saka's just behind him. The line has kind of pushed up. But Mahrez, as all players of quality do, finds a way to keep possession and then plays this pass into Sergio Aguero, who's also dropped deep. You can see Sterling's beyond him. You can see Foden's beyond him. And when Aguero picks up the ball, from the minute Sergio Aguero picks up this ball, you know that Arsenal are in trouble. Because we're backtracking here. Now you've got a situation where that midfield screen that Arsenal are looking or always looking to have in front of the defence is simply not there. Granit Xhaka is behind Sergio Aguero. Dani Ceballos isn't going to get across to Sergio Aguero quick enough. And even if he does, you can see that both Saka and Tierney have both pushed up. So that, like I said, the minute this ball goes into Sergio Aguero, we're in trouble. If I just move it on a little bit, Aguero carries the ball forward. You can see Xhaka still getting back. You can see Ceballos still getting back. And you can see that Arsenal back three has really, really narrowed. And I always say this. It is about, first and foremost, defending the width of your penalty area. That has always got to be the aim in situations like that. In years gone by, Arsenal haven't been compact like this. And Arsenal have made it far too easy for their opponents. Now, I've seen a lot of people give Hector Bellerin stick about this goal. And I look at him in this current position and I think to myself, what else do you want Hector Bellerin to be doing here? He's chasing back. He knows that Foden's over his left shoulder. He's also trying to be as compact and as close as possible as he can be to David Luiz and Gabriel, as I said, to keep it as a unit. And then we just move this on one more time and the ball comes into Phil Foden. For me, as much as Hector Bellerin probably should do better here, you know, and it is easy for Foden to cut infield, Phil Foden is a left-footed player. I don't think that Hector Bellerin is necessarily doing the wrong thing by slightly showing him inside. Look, he's not fully showing him sort of either way. But I think with David Luiz in that position on the edge of the penalty area, David Luiz has got to be looking to come in and give Bellerin a hand here. He's got to be looking to shut that space. You don't want Phil Foden on his left foot. So when he does come inside, in my view, looking at that still image that we're seeing now on your screens, it takes a couple of strides and David Luiz should be there. David Luiz should be closing that channel. And, you know, I don't know. I feel like in that way you deal with Phil Foden. You've shut him going on the outside in Hector Bellerin's case. And if David Luiz is doing what he's supposed to be doing here, then you've closed off that angle inside as well. But Arsenal, again, they simply don't deal with it. They simply don't deal with it. And Foden cuts inside as I move it on once more. And he gets the shot away. Now, Foden's shot is saved by Bernd Leno. And I'm going to get some heat for saying this. Because I know there are a lot of people that don't feel like, you know, this is anything to do with Bernd Leno or Bernd Leno is at fault at all. And I realise that in a situation such as this, as a goalkeeper, when a player's inside your penalty area and gets a shot off, your thought and your mind and your objective first and foremost is to keep the ball out the back of your net. But you cannot, at the highest level, be parrying the ball into that area where Bernd Leno has parried it. Basically, onto the penalty spot. You can't do that. And the reason this infuriated me is because it's not the first time that Bernd Leno's done this. If you remember the game at Anfield not long ago, there was a header that went back across Bernd Leno's goal and he made what I thought was a comfortable save. And again, he parried it into the path of an oncoming attacker. And I kept saying, you know, everyone's praising this save, which I think he should make. I think he should make this Foden save as well. But the very best goalkeepers, they don't parry the ball into these areas. And that's what separates the very elite and the good. And I'm not saying Bernd Leno's a bad keeper. He's a good keeper. But you simply cannot afford to put the ball back on the penalty spot in this situation. And from there, Raheem Sterling, well, the goal is at his mercy and he's going to score. And, you know, so I think with this goal, there's a combination of things that just weren't done right. I think Bellerin maybe, you know, I get what he's trying to do. He's trying to shut off that outside channel for Foden on his left foot. In doing that, he's shown him inside. But then by doing that, do you ever want to show someone inside? Not really. And then David Luiz's role is a little bit, I think, not quite right. I think that David Luiz needs to get there quicker. David Luiz needs to be aware that there's a chance of Foden cutting in and that Bellerin has been isolated one-on-one. And as the right-sided centre-back, he's got to get there and help his man. And I think he takes too long in doing that. But when it comes to Bernd Leno as well, that for me was the really, really frustrating bit. To parry it right onto the penalty spot is just so frustrating. And if it happened once in a blue moon, if it happened once in a while, I'd be able to forgive him for it. And to be fair to Bernd Leno, he made some good saves a little bit later on in the game. But this happens too often with Bernd Leno. It is a common feature in the Germans' game. And it is why I've always said that whilst he's an excellent shot stopper and he does have some qualities, he's a good goalkeeper, but he's not at the very top end. He's not elite. He's not world class. You don't see Alisson parrying that ball there. And that's kind of the difference. It's, you know, a lot of people saying in the comments, you know, Archangel says Martinez would have held it. Lung Burkamp says we sold our best keeper, end of. King Shazam says Martinez was the best keeper, we let him go. Matthew Henry says you're absolutely right about Leno. Tim, Leno never keeps hold of the ball. You know, again, I don't want to go kind of too hard on this. I don't want you guys to think that I'm just blaming the whole defeat on Bernd Leno, because we had other deficiencies going the other way, lots of problems. But I can't help but be frustrated at that. And I think that I'm being fair when I say that Bernd Leno does that often, too often, and that it is a problem for Arsenal. It is a problem. He doesn't fill me with confidence in a number of ways, but this parrying the ball into dangerous areas, it is is a big issue for me. A big issue. You know, your defenders are busting their balls to get back and to defend. But if they're getting back, in Gabriel's case, you know, if I take it back to that screenshot, in Gabriel's case here, he's working obviously to get back on the line when Phil Foden has a shot. And now he finds himself in a situation where, because he's trying to work back in that position, he now can't get to the penalty spot or to Raheem Sterling quick enough to try and put him off, to make a block. And, you know, it must be so frustrating to see your goalkeeper put the ball into that kind of area. So again, whilst I'm not saying that Bernd Leno is the reason Arsenal, well, the sole reason Arsenal got bit, it is got beat, not bit. It was poor and it was disappointing and it was frustrating. And I said it in commentary yesterday. It just happens too often for me. And the same thing over and over again, that grates on me. If someone makes the same mistake over and over again, that winds me up. And we are seeing that over and over again with Bernd Leno at this moment. There was, of course, another incident in the first half whereby I thought Arsenal should have been awarded a penalty. And it's not me sitting here making excuses or having sour grapes. I just feel like we need to highlight this because for me, there's enough in this for it to be a penalty. Now, you can see this on your screenshot. I mean, that kick from Kyle Walker is something that belongs in Karate Kid, not on a Premier League pitch. Yeah, some people are going to argue that Gabriel's put his head in there, which he's fully entitled to do. And Walker is entitled to challenge for the ball, of course. But when you see in other games sort of fouls given for the high foot, for endangering an opponent, for that kind of thing, and then you go into a game like this and it's not even looked at, it is really, really frustrating. Mikel Arteta spoke about it, didn't he, in his post-match? He was asked about it and he said that he asked the VAR why they hadn't checked it. They said they had checked it. And he said, well, how could they? I think his words were, how the hell did they check that so quickly? And he's right. The fact is that, you know, you might decide as an official that that's not a penalty, but it's the inconsistency of how VAR is being applied that drives me absolutely nuts. And, you know, I am no Liverpool fan, but I mean, what we saw in terms of that offside decision with Sadio Mane, for me, was nuts. And we saw other situations as well. The foul on Virgil van Dijk, which incidentally looks like he's going to keep him out for the rest of the season now. All that stuff drives me mad because it's the inconsistency with which this I think it's a good system, it is being applied. It is a good system. It's just the people operating it are clueless. And that is the problem we have here. What this is doing is it's not solving all our problems at the moment, but it's highlighting the incompetence of some of the officials. And it's making it inexcusable when they make these kind of sort of mess ups. So, you know, I was frustrated that wasn't looked at. I don't believe it was looked at, despite what the officials kind of told Mikel Arteta. And that is what is really, really infuriating at the end of the day. Yeah, you know, it's a frustrating defeat because it's a defeat in a game where I felt like we were equal to them. I felt like we were as good as them on the day, which wasn't very good. I feel like we won't get many better opportunities to go to Manchester City and take a result. And that's not even going on about the 3 points. You know, a point would have been plenty. I'd have been very happy with that. I didn't expect Thomas Partey to play anyway. I was baffed by the decision to play Willian as a false 9. But my biggest concern coming away from that game is not about the fact that we lost at Man City. Look, we've lost 2 games in the Premier League so far this season, but we've lost against the 2 best sides by, in my view, a country mile. I still think that despite what people say about a number of other clubs, that Manchester City are still the second best team in England. You know, look, 5 games, 9 points, 3 wins. There's been none of those draws. The draws that seemed to kill us last season. There's been none of that. We've won the games that we should win. and we've lost the games that we probably should have lost as well. But at some point, if we're going to compete for the top four, we have to be able to beat the teams around us. Even if it's not beating them, we have to be able to get results against teams like that. Now, I know those are the two hardest games that we'll have, City away and Liverpool away. But it is frustrating when you know that the opportunity was there, when you know that they were never anywhere near their best, yet we didn't take advantage of that. It is frustrating. You can't come away from that without any regrets. Now, again, as I said, a 1-0 defeat is not shameful at Manchester City, and I'm not going to be going overboard or, really laying into Mikel Arteta, and I'm not even really laying into Bernd Leno, even if it came across like that. But I'm just kind of analysing the game, highlighting the key moments for me. Arsenal had some opportunities as well, which we didn't take. But yeah, I guess what I'm saying is the overriding feeling at the end of that one is one of disappointment, as it always is when you get beat. But when you get beat and you know that the opponent didn't have to be at their best. We went to Anfield and Liverpool were excellent and Liverpool won the game. But we didn't make Manchester City have to perform at a top level in order to beat us. It was like a half-hearted performance from Manchester City. Unfit Sergio Aguero leading the line. I didn't think Sterling was great. I didn't think any of their talented players. Bernardo Silva was great. Of course, there was no Kevin De Bruyne as well. No Aymeric Laporte. So that's what I'm saying. Like you can't not feel any disappointment off the back of that. Let's go over to the chat for some of your questions. Get your questions in. We're going to just do a few more minutes and we'll take some of those. This one comes from Archangel. He says, are we going to talk about Aguero screaming in Sean Massey's face, then putting his hands all over her and it being totally ignored? Of course, Sergio Aguero was unhappy with the decision that the lineswoman Sean Massey gave. He started off by kind of protesting verbally, sort of in her face, and then he put his arm around her shoulder. And I don't feel like Sergio Aguero did that with any malice or with any intention of causing a thing, but it just made me feel uncomfortable. It was really uncomfortable. And I've seen a lot of women say kind of that this is the kind of thing that goes on in a male-dominated environment. And I wouldn't know, but I guess, I wouldn't know how they will feel or how they feel in a male-dominated environment. I couldn't possibly know, but I get that. It just left me feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Again, I don't think it is that big a deal. I think it was wrong. But do I think that Sergio Aguero done that with the intention of causing an issue? No, I don't. I think it was a natural reaction, a wrong natural reaction, and one that kind of highlights the fact that actually it's an attitude thing. That still exists in the game of football, where it is a very male-dominated environment. I think that something should be done about it. I think there should be some awareness raised off the back of it. Maybe Aguero should be fined. I don't know what the kind of... It's an unprecedented situation. It's not something I've seen happen before for me to know kind of where they should go in terms of dealing with it. But I do think it highlights an attitude issue within football as a whole, rather than just with Sergio Aguero. So, yeah, it's definitely wrong. As I said, it made me feel uncomfortable when I saw it. But I think, as with anything sensitive like this, I think it's about what do we want to learn from it? What do we need to change off the back of it? And how do we achieve that? There will be outrage, and there should be outrage when something happens that is wrong. But you have to channel that outrage and that anger into a way that actually makes change happen, rather than just sitting there going, Aguero is this, Aguero is that, Aguero is this. What has that taught us? What has that highlighted? What issue within our game has that raised? And now, how do we raise awareness around it? How do we educate people around it? And how do we prevent it from being a natural reaction to another player in the future? That's kind of my thing about it. So it's wrong, shouldn't happen. I felt uncomfortable with it. The most important bit is about how we deal with it and how we learn from it and how we improve things off the back of it. So yeah, I do expect there'll probably be some sort of follow up on that in the coming days, whether that is an apology from Sergio Aguero. Maybe there's been one. I don't even know if I'm telling the truth. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. Somalia Diagaria says, "Are you worried about our tactics?" Am I worried about Arsenal's tactics overall? No. Because I get why you would set up in that way. I don't get why you would go to somewhere like Manchester City and leave yourself open to be destroyed within 20 minutes. I've touched on the point already in this show that actually, as much as we lost the game, we were more competitive. We did stay in the game longer. That is a positive sign. It wasn't a 3-4, 5-0 drubbing. It was a 1-0 defeat. I'm not worried about the tactics. I'm worried about our ability to up it a gear, to change shape in-game, to change attitudes in-game. That's what I'm worried about, rather than the initial tactics. I'm worried about our ability to change games when the game plan goes out of the window. And inevitably, when you go to places and you set up in that way, and it's very much about containing, there will be instances where you go behind to a deflected goal, to an own goal, to a penalty, to, things change in football matches like that. And so you've got to be able to respond. And whilst I feel like Arsenal have made strides in some ways, I still feel like Arsenal aren't quite at the point where they can make those adaptations and make them, I guess, what's the word? Where they can make those adaptations in the game, where they can shift their emphasis and where they can turn a game based on sort of the manager almost just pressing a button. It isn't there. It's not an easy thing to find in football, but we seem to be a long way from it, too far from it. And that does worry me over the course of the season. It does. But again, just to answer your question, it's not necessarily a tactical issue, I don't think. It's about when you play a certain way, it is about being able to change that mindset, I think. I think that's the problem. Being able to change the attitude, shift the momentum in a game. King Shazam says, do you think Arteta will get it right eventually? And do you think he is the right man to take us forward? Absolutely. At this stage, I am 100% behind Mikel Arteta. I've been behind Mikel Arteta from the day I heard him speak in that first press conference when he got the job. I've been that impressed by his aura, by what he says. I think he has made us more difficult to beat. He's won an FA Cup. He's done some really, really good things. But I've said it all along, this will be a bumpy road. Arsenal's road back to the Champions League is not a straightforward one. It's not just like that. There are going to be lefts, there are going to be rights. We're going to go back sometimes. We're going to hit road bumps. We're going to hit brick walls even. But I do believe that Mikel Arteta is the man to get this Arsenal side back to where they need to be. We need to be patient though. And that's why, as much as I've spoken a lot about my disappointment off the back of yesterday's game, sticking the knife in, sticking the boot in to the manager, it's not the right thing, is it? Because as much as we've made some signings, there are still a lot of components within that squad that simply aren't good enough. Simply aren't good enough. Let's see. Mark No One says, Spuds 3, West Ham 3. You're welcome. I love that. Absolutely love that. And I've got to be honest, guys, today. So I was watching the game, and I wanted to go out for some dinner, but my little one was getting tired. And when Spurs went 3-0 up, I went, oh, do you know what? I don't want to watch this anymore. They just looked so efficient. They were, I think they had 3 attempts at goal and scored 3 goals. Kane and Son were running the show, and I thought, my God, I'm done with this. I don't want to sit and watch Spurs score 4s and 5s and Gareth Bale coming on and all that. So I left the house. By the time I got to where I was going, and I sat down and I looked at my phone, it was 3-2. But I looked at it and I went, 89th minute, 3-2. Valiant effort from West Ham, but it's not going to happen. And then I got the notification. And I almost spilt my drink with joy, with delight for that goal. And I haven't actually seen the highlights of the second half yet. So I'm very much looking forward to watching that tonight on Match of the Day. Big hello to Andreas in Cyprus. He says Villa are winning 1-0. Barkley, what a signing that is. That has been for Aston Villa. It's been incredible, hasn't he? Going to pick up a couple more questions because we've got a few more coming through. We're going to go for probably another 5-10 minutes, depending on what you guys want to ask in the chat. Avik says, I still think Ozil could be a good option if Xhaka and Partey in the midfield with Obalaka and Pepe up top. No creativity from our midfield. This is the thing, isn't it? Like, you feel like this Mesut Ozil situation is like kind of irretrievable now. Like, it's gone beyond a solution. But then you watch games like yesterday and you feel like, what harm would it be calling on him from the bench? And this is the issue for me, and this is what makes it even more frustrating. Aside from the fact that he's getting all this money and not really doing much, I don't really care about that. I don't really care about the finances. I care about what's best for the Arsenal team, and I still, as much as some of the things he does in terms of the PR and all that get on my nerves, I still feel like there is something there and that we're not using it. And I can't help but feel that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting sucked into it because of the disappointment following yesterday's game. I don't know. Ross says, we seem to show the big teams too much respect in the league games. In the cup games, we seem to get better results. Yeah, I feel like I think that's quite simple, I guess, in the sense of in a cup tie, you don't get a point for a draw. You know, you're either through or you're not. But I think I think that Mikel Arteta is so pragmatic that he does look at games in blocks, maybe, and says, I want 7 points from those 3 games. I want 6 points from those 3 games. And that determines how he kind of goes into fixtures, with what mindset he goes in, with what setup he goes in. I don't know. But you're right, it seems to be a lot more effective at the moment in the cup competitions. I think there's a bit of an element of luck to that as well. You know, let's see. Let's see. It is, I don't know. Sherwin says, why didn't we match Man City's formation and fight it out rather lose due to quality than effort? I don't think Arsenal expected Manchester City to play the way they did. I think Pep Guardiola caught Mikel Arteta cold. And I think Mikel Arteta played with the false 9 in Willian in an attempt to maintain the positives from that FA Cup win, but also spring a little bit of a surprise, because Pep Guardiola would have watched that game back again. He would have understood, him and his team and his analysts would have understood what went wrong that day, and they would have tried to counter that. And so Mikel Arteta felt that he had to have another surprise up his sleeve. But even so, I don't think he thought for a second that Pep Guardiola was going to play the way that he did. So yeah, difficult. Callum Reed says, hi Harry, haven't watched you in ages. How you doing, mate? Welcome back to the channel. Why haven't you watched in ages? What's going on? Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, guys, smash that like button. It is so important. I don't have my phone to hand to check how many we've got at the moment, but there are over 150 of you watching across the multiple platforms right this minute. So if you could all please smash the like button, I'd very, very much appreciate it. It is so important for the channel's growth that you do that. And yeah, please feel free to do so. Don't forget also, this podcast is sponsored by manscaped.com. So if you want your genital areas or your body in general hair to look as trim, as lush, hopefully not as green as the Emirates Stadium pitch, then head over to manscaped.com and place your orders now. It's the Lawnmower 3.0. That's the new one. That's the one to get. And if you enter our discount code, which is Chronicles AFC, all one word, all in capitals, that's rolling across the bottom of your screens, you will get not only 20% off of your order, but free shipping as well. So it's well worth it if you are in the market for that sort of product. And I promise you, I've got the Manscaped one here. Where is it? Hold on. Oh, it was here. It's somewhere. But yeah, check it out. Hold on. You made me want to find it now. I've got the box here. Where is it? Here we go. It's the Lawnmower 3.0. It's even got a light, so you don't miss any of the dark areas, of the nooks and crannies. So do check it out. You also get some amazing bits and pieces with it as well, like this ball toner. You also get the crop preserver, which is ball deodorant. So you get that too. You get a pair of Manscaped boxers, which, as you can see, I've not worn yet. And you get all the pieces in this box. So yeah, as the packaging says, guys, your balls will thank you. So check out manscaped.com, enter the discount code, and get yourself one of these bad boys. They are really good. Right, I want to say a massive thank you to every single one of you who is joining us in the chat. Big hello to Mason Greenwood as well. Not the Mason Greenwood, obviously. But he says, love the content, Harry. Subbed and liked. Thank you very much, mate. Archangel says, Tottenham got Manscaped. Brilliant stuff. Apologies if I haven't answered your question this time around. I always try to look out for people whose questions I haven't answered recently when I'm picking them out, but we are running out of time, so I do apologize, and feel free to put them in the comments and I'll answer them in the comments at the bottom of this video at some point tomorrow. So feel free to do that if I did miss your question, and apologies if I have. Don't forget, subscribe, like, share, comment. You know the drill by now. We'll be back tomorrow with some more content for you. Patrons will be bringing you our Arsene Wenger book review. We'll be reviewing chapters 1 and 2 of Arsene Wenger's autobiography, My Life in Red and White. We'll be talking about those in detail. Myself and our editor over on the ChroniclesAFC.com website, Jay Bayford, will be doing that, and that will be available to patrons from Tuesday morning. So stay tuned for that. If you want to become a patron, head over to patreon.com / the Chronicles of a Gooner. Or was it Yeah, there it is. Here, it's on your screens. You can become a patron by heading over to patreon.com / the Chronicles of a Gooner. You can sign up for just £3 a month and you'll receive access to exclusive content as well as some other perks. So thank you guys very much in advance for your support. Remember, like, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll be back very soon with more. Until then, take care and join us a little bit later in the week, where we'll be doing not only more Arsenal content, but we will be bringing you our social club show, in which we'll look back on this crazy weekend of Premier League action. Very much looking forward to that too. Until then, cheers.